Hello everyone! Welcome to the FPL Draft Den Waiver Watch. Our first one will be for Game Week 5. I hope you guys are ready for this game week. I know it's been a really hard international break without any real football to watch. But I hope you guys got to at least see the Sidemen vs YouTube All-Stars charity match, because that was a doozy. Today I'll be going over various players like the two that you see here. We have Pedro Neto and Cameron Archer. I'd consider two of the more underrated players that had outstanding performances in the last game week. So we'll get started with who you guys should pick up for your waivers this week, and really make sure you have the best and most enjoyable time to watch Premier League football this weekend. So first of all, we have Tim Ream, and honestly, it isn't just Tim Ream here. I feel like any of the Fulham defenders that you know will get 90 minutes is a decent defender waiver. Either Tim Ream, Robinson, Issa Diop as well could be decent, and the main reason for that is you can just look at the fixtures list. All the greens that you could ever see in the world, it's super nice. They have good fixtures going forward for like the next couple months. Even if you just want to do a 1 week punt on a Fulham defender, they have Luton at home, Crystal Palace away in the next 2 game weeks, so if you want to do a short-term punt, they're good for that. I will say I'm not sure how well Fulham will do this year. They did decently to get a point up at Arsenal, but then they got smacked by Man City. I will say the stats might make it seem like Tim Ream has good goal threat, but he had just a real sitter that he scored against Man City, and that's why he has such a high XG. So I wouldn't count on him to get you that many goals or assists. It's more you're kind of targeting the fixtures for each of the following game weeks by picking up a Fulham defender. So if you have a 5th defender slot that you don't know what to do with and you want to target the fixtures, I think Fulham might be a good shout. Alright, next up we have another kind of fixture guru here in the form of Alex Moreno. So over the course of the last few weeks, Luca Dean has been playing left back for Aston Villa because Alex Moreno has been out injured since the game against Liverpool back in May. That said, Alex Moreno tends to be the preferred left back of choice for Unai Emery. He played like 19 games last season and he got 3 assists. The club Aston Villa were actually looking to sell Luca Dean for a lot of the summer, but he had some really outstanding performances that kind of allowed him to stay at the time for the club, though I still think they will prefer Alex Moreno. So, as you can see by the stats, obviously there's nothing because he hasn't played at all this season yet due to that injury. But looking at that fixture list, I think he'll come in and slot in and play over Luca Dean, though might not be right away. It might be a little bit more time before he plays over Luca Dean. But in terms of the long term, picking up Alex Moreno would be a good shout to target the long-term fixtures that Aston Villa have that are good. And they're a strong team. I think they'll keep a decent amount of clean sheets. That's what I have for defenders for now. Now going on to midfielders. So the first couple of midfielders that I'm going to go for waivers, I think I'm going to consider more obvious, while the last few I might think of more sleeper picks. The more obvious shouts I think will be useful for if you are in the lower places, like 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th place. Because as you know, waiver order is in reverse order in terms of your rank in your mini leagues. So depending on where you are, it kind of affects how you think about how you should go about your waiver picks. So if you're 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, you could go for those more obvious ones that seem like they'll be good. But if you're 1st, 2nd, 3rd, then you might have to go for those sleeper picks because the lower ranked people in your mini league will probably claim the best players before you do. So in terms of those easier ones to tell, one of them I have right here is for Wolves, is Pedro Neto. So I know Wolves might not do too hot this season. Their attack hasn't looked that good even as far as last season into this season. But one consistent performer you can get from Wolves, if Wolves have a good attacking performance, that good attacking performance will involve Pedro Neto. So he played all 4 games, he played all the 90 minutes in that, and he's built up a lot of creativity, showing that he has a lot of assist potential, and that's even seen in the last 2 game weeks. He built up 3 assists and got 17 points across the last 2 game weeks. That's really impressive, and I'm pretty sure no one's going to miss that if they look at his stats. You can actually pick him up pretty early this game week if you really want to, but if you're one of the higher places, I doubt that you'll be able to get your hands on him. That said though, the fixtures don't look too hot for Neto, so you can always give it a go and see how on top of things the people in your mini league are, because I think he'll be decent. He's a good kind of 5th midfielder pick that you can play in your team if he has a good fixture, that type of midfielder. And if he starts popping off more and more as the season progresses, that's even more power to you. I think is a good midfielder to go for. Alright, next up we have Kevin Schad. He's available in my mini league. I don't know how many of your mini leagues he's available in. He's just got signed by Brentford on a permanent basis. He was there on loan last year and now has the number 9 for Brentford. Played off the bench in the first game week and played from the start in the second, third, and fourth game weeks. The third and fourth, he got a 9-pointer in the third and a 5-pointer in the fourth, getting a goal and an assist. I think anyone looking at his stats can see, oh, he's doing pretty well, and he's playing in a solid front three for Brentford with Mbomo and Vissa. He's a good pickup. So if you're in a good position in terms of the rankings for the waiver pickups, I think Kevin Shaw is a pretty good player to go for. He built up decent stats. In that last game against Bournemouth, he got almost half a goal of XG, which is pretty decent. Brentford do have more difficult fixtures. As you can see, they have Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United, and Newcastle in the next 10 or so fixtures. But they do have some easier ones sprinkled in there as well. I think Brentford's attack will do decently. A lot of people have Mbomo and Vissa in normal FPL. And Shaw, I think, will be good for draft FPL to kind of supplement your attack because he'll be working together with those guys. So I think now that he's kind of broken his duck and finally got a goal for Brentford, I think he might become more consistent at times as time goes on, so might be a good pickup. Now we're going to be going into more of the sleeper picks. The players that your other people in your mini league might not be eyeing specifically, but might be decent if you're in the first, second, third ranks, and you kind of want a fifth midfielder to really round out your team. So one of them is Bournemouth's David Brooks. If you haven't been following football too long, you might be wondering, where did this guy come from? It didn't seem like Bournemouth signed him, but he just started playing games all of a sudden and wasn't here prior. So that's because David Brooks was diagnosed with a stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma a few years ago while he was on duty for Wales and had to miss a long time of football because of it. But honestly, I just want to say congratulations to Brooks for getting through that. It's really difficult to work through a cancer like that, and to make it back for football is extremely impressive. Now, that isn't biasing my decision here in any way, though it might a little. I followed Brooks even back in my draft team when I had him, even before he had cancer, and he was very good. He got a lot of points. He was a very good attacking output, very positive, very on the front foot. And the reason I'm bringing him up now, as you can see with the stats, is he came off the bench against Brentford and scored on a good counterattacking move that did benefit from a mistake from Rico Henry, but he did get a goal from that, and a couple bonus points to supplement that as well. The reason I'm picking him as well is because he scored in the EFL Cup game that Bournemouth had against Swansea City, and he also scored on duty for Wales during the international break. So he's on a bit of a scoring streak now for club and country. I think it might be a good sleeper pick to possibly go for him, as he's built up a decent amount of XG as well, though from almost 1 yard from goal. That's kind of why he built up so much XG in that last game. Fixtures for Bournemouth are a little bit tough, but I do believe in Iraola a bit. I do think that they'll pick up points here or there, such that they won't be in the thick of a relegation battle, but they'll still be in and around there. In that case, I think Brooks would be a good sleeper pick. Alright, for the next up in the sleeper picks, I have Abdoulaye Doucouré. Anyone who's known him from his Watford days going into Everton knows he does have a bit of an eye for goal. I think some of you might remember last year on the last day of the season against Bournemouth, he scored an absolute screamer to keep Everton up. He's a consistent player. He plays the 90 minutes every single time. Started all 4 games against Fulham, Villa, Wolves, and now Sheffield United. He got that goal against Sheffield United, and now that Everton have bought an actual center forward in the form of Beto, I think the other attackers like Danjuma and Doucouré could benefit as well. So I would actually recommend possibly going for Danjuma as well, though I haven't actually seen what he's capable of in the Prem yet, which is why I'm recommending Doucouré over him. We know Doucouré is going to start, and I think with a proper center forward to lead the line for Everton, I think the other attacking players will benefit now that Sean Dyche has that center forward to work with. So now that Doucouré has kind of gotten off the mark this season in the first game that he also started with alongside Beto, he also got a really good XG from that game with a 1.07. Everton might be able to kick off in the next few games they have tough games against Arsenal and Brentford, but then they might have easier games against Luton and Bournemouth, where he might be able to pick up some points. So in terms of that fifth midfielder slot, Doucouré might be a solid player to bring in, and he might be able to get some goals and assists for you. Now, Arsenal might be a tough fixture, but I will mention that Arsenal have a really hard time beating Everton at Goodison Park. So whether that might say something about this fixture this weekend, I don't know, but I do tend to believe in these things, so there might be a bit of an upset this weekend. So maybe a decent idea to give Doucouré a punt then in your midfield. Alright, now for forwards. Again, just like with midfielders, the first two I'm going to go over are kind of more obvious picks given their recent performances, while the last two are going to be more sleeper picks. I'm actually a bit proud of myself with my draft team because I actually picked up Cameron Archer like a week before he signed for Sheffield United. Just because I followed the rumors, I knew he was going to get signed, and I thought he did decently on loan last year against Middlesbrough, racking up 11 goals and 8 assists in 20 appearances for Middlesbrough to kind of help them get to those playoffs, though they weren't able to win the playoffs, so that's why they're not in the Premier League now. But when it comes to Archer, he did sign for Sheffield United, and on his debut at home against Bramall Lane against Everton, he got a goal and an assist in FPL, and it really easily could have been 2 goals because his quote-unquote assist was actually a really good shot that went off the post, off Pickford's back, and then was counted as an own goal. So he was really threatening that game, and he got like a whole big 12-point haul for that. I think pretty much anyone in your league is going to notice that and try to go for him, especially with how few good starting forwards are even in the league right now. So if you're one of those bottom places, 8th, 9th, and 10th, I know it's Sheffield United. They probably won't get that many goals this season, but Archer's a talent. So I think it might be good to get him into your team if you're in one of those bottom places because you have that first pick to really go for him. So Archer might be a good pick for that. Now Sheffield United's fixtures are going to be a bit tough. I think they're one of the weaker teams, so their fixtures, they have more difficult teams to face. Their fixtures are always going to be tough. But if they pick up points here or there, or if they lose 4-1, that one goal might be Archer. So I think that might be a good shout to get him into your teams. Alright, next up we have a player that I brought up earlier when I talked about Decore, and that is Beto. So Beto also had his debut for Everton in that game of Sheffield United versus Everton. And while he didn't score, he performed pretty well. He actually had a better XG than Archer did with 0.22. And expected assist was 0.05. Overall, I thought he had a really good performance. He's a really strong presence, pushing against the back line of Sheffield United, picking up the ball, had decent link-up play, and he's a good runner. He ran with the ball really well, so I think he's really going to improve Everton's attacking play. I think all their attackers are going to become better now. Their attack was already been pretty good in games like against Fulham and Wolves, but they just couldn't finish. So I think Beto might be able to provide that clinical finish, and thus might be good for your draft teams as well. Now, for Udinese, where Everton signed him from, he might not have had ridiculously good stats. I think he got 10 or so goals in a season for them at Udinese. That said, though, I think he might be able to put up similar stats in the Premier League, so he might be worth picking up for your draft teams. Alright, now I have another Sheffield United striker. These next two are going to be those more sleeper picks. If you're first, second, or third, and you're really itching for a forward because you have like someone who doesn't play, then these guys might be possibly good sleeper picks to get into your team that might get you some points here or there for that third forward slot. And so McBurney hadn't actually started the first 2 game weeks for Sheffield United. The front two for those 2 games were Osula and Benny Traore, and they weren't too effective. McBurney came back in game week 3 against Man City and then started alongside Archer, and the link-up play between Archer and McBurney was quite good. He actually got the assist to set up Archer's first goal, where the cross got set into him in the box, he got a touch and then laid it off for Archer, who smacked it home for an amazing debut goal for Sheffield United. And I think there might be some good link-up between Archer and McBurney. So thus I think McBurney might benefit from Archer playing alongside him and might be able to get more goals and assists than he would have gotten if Archer wasn't playing alongside him. Likewise with Archer, the fixtures aren't too great, but he might get involved in a goal here or there, so he might be a solid starting forward to pick that might get you a goal or assist here or there. Alright, for the last forward, this one I wouldn't recommend too highly. In my opinion, out of the ones that I've went over, he's like the last forward that's probably available in your draft leagues that is starting matches in the form of Fabio Silva. I know this picture makes him look a little high, and I know his stats don't tend to be that high themselves, not too many goals and assists in his career, but if you are really itching for a forward and no one else is available whatsoever, or if you're digging Wolves' attack, Fabio Silva is there. He is an option. He has a decent XG right now with 1, obviously underperformed that because he hasn't scored yet, but he got 70 minutes against Everton and 70 minutes against Crystal Palace. He might come good. He might not. I don't recommend him too highly, but if you really need someone in that third forward slot, Fabio Silva is there, and he is an option. So do with that information what you will. But that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you guys are having a great week. I hope you're looking forward to some good Premier League football this weekend. If you're interested in more videos, please subscribe, and if you like the video, definitely give it a like. And please, 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 I encourage you guys to comment, ask for tips on any waivers you want to do, or ask for kind of more information about the possible waivers that I recommended today. I'll be more than welcome to talk with you guys in the comments and see if I can help you guys win those mini leagues, because I know you guys are the best drafters that have ever lived, right? Alright, have a great week, folks. Have a good one.